Hello grade 3, how are you? In this video inshallah we are going to talk about thermal conductor and thermal insulator. And as I told you that thermal means heat and conductor means it just let it pass, while insulator mean it doesn't let it pass, it insulated. So thermal conductor means materials that let heat pass, while thermal insulators are materials that insulate heat, that stop heat from passing, that do not let heat pass. Thermal conductors are like copper, copper, the material through which they made wires, aluminium, gold, all of those materials are thermal conductors. Thermal insulators like wood, plastic, that's why they make the handle of the pan of plastic, so when we handle it, if it's on the stove or on fire and we hand it, so we will not get burned. And styrofoam is thermal insulator. Thermal conductor, we use metal to make objects that need to conduct heat well. That's why we made it of metal, which is a good conductor. For example, the metal saucepan conduct heat well, so the food inside heats up quickly. Insulators. Wood is a good example of thermal insulator, as it can be used as saucepan handle or as a wooden spoon. The wood stops the heat from traveling to your hand. Like you're seeing here, we need heat to be transferred to this saucepan, so we get our food cooked. That's why they made this part from of metal, which is a good thermal conductor, while this part of plastic, so will not get burned if we handle it while it was on fire. Even this saucepan, this is made of metal, so it will conduct heat, or it will let heat pass to cook food. But this of wood, so when we hand it, you will not get burned. So like this. Wooden spoon, they made them of wood, so we will not get burned if we handle them and stir our food. This is made of metal, but the hand is of plastic, so we will not get burned when we hand them. Even animals, the polar bear and the penguin, both of them are covered with thick layer of something. Like for example, the polar bear is covered with thick fat and thick fur, and this fur is considered to be a thermal insulator. It will not let heat go out of its body. That's why it can live in these cold areas like the polar regions, because it's covered with a thick thermal insulator, thick layer of blubber and fats, thick layer of fur. Also the penguin, it's covered with a thick layer of feather. This feather is thermal insulator. It stops or insulates its body from the coldness outside, and it doesn't allow heat to go out from its body, so it will feel cold. Even us, in winter, we wear coats and jackets because they are thermal insulator, and they keep heat inside our body, and it will not allow coldness to enter inside our body. So this is a thermal insulator. Now let's answer some questions about thermal insulator and thermal conductor, starting with this. Choose the best material for the job. Take one box in each set. By the way, this sheet is trick number 10. Trick number 10 is this sheet. Metal is the best material for a radiator. Radiator is a machine that gives us heat when we feel cold. Metal is the best material for a radiator because it's good thermal insulator or good thermal conductor. Think. Metal, good thermal conductor. It let heat pass. That's why they made radiator of metal. B. Plastic is the best material for a pan handle because they made the pan handle of plastic. Why? because it's a good thermal insulator or a good thermal conductor? Because it's a good thermal insulator, so we will not get burned if we hand it while it's on fire. Let's move to the other question. Ian and Sarah fill 3 cups with hot water. They bring 3 cups and fill them with hot water. 1 cup is made from polystyrene foam. 1 cup is made of polystyrene foam. 1 is made from pottery. You know pottery? Those trays we have in our houses and we cook inside them. الفخار أو let's say the الطواجن. This is the pottery. And 1 is made from metal, pottery, and polystyrene. They put a temperature sensor, which may be a thermometer, in each cup. After 10 minutes, Sarah comments that the water in cup A has a temperature of 27 degrees Celsius, while the water in cup B has a temperature of 33 degrees Celsius. The water in cup C at 38 degrees Celsius. Join the material to the correct cup. Cup A, cup B, cup C. We have to guess which cup was metal and which cup was polystyrene and which cup was pottery or is pottery. Let's write the temperature beside each cup. Cup A 27, cup B 33, cup C 38. We have to be completely sure that the cup with the least temperature is the thermal conductor, because as I told you, thermal conductor will let heat pass. So heat will escape out of the cup which is thermal conductor, because the thermal conductor let heat pass. And the best thermal insulator will not let heat pass. That's why the water will keep warming. So we said that cup A is 27 and 27 is the least temperature. So, and we know that metal is the best thermal conductor. So metal is gonna be cup A. Pottery is a poor thermal conductor. It conducts heat as we use it in cooking. So it will be the one coming after metal, cup B. While polystyrene, we know that it's a thermal insulator, so it's gonna be the highest temperature, which is cup C, 38. Let's move to the other question. Kate hold ice cube A in her bare hand and ice cube B in a gloved hand. Which cube will melt more quickly? Which cube will melt more quickly? Okay, it's gonna be the cube A, which is in bare hand, as the heat will come quickly out of our hand and melt the cube of ice. While cube B will not be melted easily, as we are wearing a glove which is a thermal insulator. It will stop heat from coming out of our hand and melt it. So it will take time to melt than the bare hand. Let's move to another question. Zoom it. Cedric has a problem. This is Cedric and he has a problem. He loves tomato soup and he loves feeding the ducks in the park his soup. However, always ends up dreadfully cold. Cedric has a problem. He loves his tomato soup so much, but he also loves to feeding the ducks his soup. So he forgot it and he takes so much time in feeding the ducks, and his soup ends up dreadfully cold, very cold. He has a plan. He'll try drinking the soup in a different containers. He will try drinking this soup in different containers. Containers mean like a bowl or cup. Each day, and see which is the best in keeping the soup warm. Which is the best in keeping the soup warm means which is the best thermal insulator. Which is the best in keeping the heat inside the soup without letting it escaping out of it. Here are the results of his investigation. He make an investigation through using different cups or different containers to see which one is the best in keeping his soup warm, or in keeping the temperature, or in keeping the heat inside the soup, which is gonna be the best thermal insulator. He tests plastic, polystyrene, paper and tin. Tin is the same like the tuna boxes. You know, the tuna box is made of tin. Plastic, polystyrene, paper, tin. Which material kept Cedric's soup hottest? It's very clear, it's polystyrene. Polystyrene is the best in keeping the soup warm, so it's the best thermal insulator. It keeps the heat inside the soup without letting it escape out. Why is tin not very good at keeping his soup warm? Why tin is not very good at keeping his soup warm? By the way, I want you to know that tin, you know, the material through which they make the butter containers and the tuna containers, they are made of tin, الصفيح. Why tin is not very good at keeping his soup warm? It's simply because tin is a thermal conductor. Thermal conductor will let heat pass, so the heat will escape out of the container and the soup will end up dreadfully cold. What could Cedric use to measure the temperature of his soup? It's very easy, by the way. Thermometer, nothing else. How could Cedric improve his experiment to make it more accurate? More accurate means more good and more scientific. So he will be sure of his results. How could Cedric improve his experiment? By making his test fair. Exactly. If Cedric made the test fair, so his experiment will be very good scientifically. How he could make his test fair? By using the same amount of soup and the same sized container, and change only one variable, which is the material through which he is going to make his cup or his container. Let's move to the other page. Cedric noticed that the ducks doesn't seem to get cold. He noticed that duck, although they are swimming in the pond, they didn't get cold, and think that it's because of their beautiful feathers. It's because of their beautiful feathers. Feathers must be thermal insulators. He mutters between mouthful of soup. He has a second plan. He takes an old feather pillow and glues the feathers onto the outside of the polystyrene cup. You remember the polystyrene cup, which was the best thermal insulator in his previous experiment? He took those feathers and stick them on the polystyrene cup and takes his soup to the park. Then he take the soup to the park. The soup was roasty toasty when he drink it. The soup was very hot when he drink it, because he make a super thermal insulator made of 2 layers, the polystyrene and the feather. Question number 1. What is a thermal insulator? What is a thermal insulator? A thermal insulator is the materials that do not allow heat to pass, that will not allow heat pass, that stop heat from passing. Name another good thermal insulator. Maybe plastic or wood. What is about the feather that make them brilliant insulators? We can cancel those 2 questions, C and D. D doesn't make any sense. Why are many layers of clothing often warmer than just one thick garment? Just because when we use so many layers of thermal insulator, it insulates heat better and better. It stops heat from passing better and better. Thank you so much, grade 3. I hope you enjoyed this video and you really understand what is the meaning of thermal insulator and thermal conductor. And when you face any question in this topic, you just answer it so easily like a piece of cake. Thank you so much and goodbye.